Hello there. Welcome back to Empower Your Soul. I am here today to talk about how spirit communication works at a high level. I'm going to caveat that. I'm going to make it very clear with my guides. We are not going into the weeds on this one because it is a complicated process. But what I did want to say is that this podcast idea actually came from my dad on Thanksgiving. So my dad is a very loving, very skeptical engineer who, although he believes in what I do, he doesn't fully understand it. And on Thanksgiving, when we were chatting about my work, he really just kind of broke it all down into one question. He's like, but how does it work? How can you talk to dead people? And I love this question because I don't think I talk about this enough. And I know I teach it a lot in my beginner's mediumship class. I know I talk about it when I step into readings with clients and I try to explain how it works, but I don't really break it down in a very easy, I'm going to say easy to understand way. So I'm going to attempt to do that today. So advanced apologies if this ends up a little bit all over the place, if the trail of logic just suddenly drops off and I start talking about something else, just because there's a million different directions this topic can go, but I'm going to try to keep it on the straight and narrow. So when my dad asked that question, how does this work? What spirit showed me in my head to explain it to him was very helpful. And this was an old news article I had read probably when I was a teenager. And I just love, by the way, how spirit makes me remember that when I read this article, it was mind-boggling to me and I didn't understand why. And now, today, it all makes sense. So here we are several years later, talking about a news article I read when we still got newspapers. Let's just put it that way. So this news article was a story of a woman who had entered our local convenience store, local gas station convenience store. You know the one, the lotto tickets, the cigarettes, the snacks, the drinks, right? Just a little tiny corner store. But she walked in and immediately felt this sense of dread. And she looked around and there was nothing that could catch her eye that could explain that feeling of dread for her. So God bless her, what she did was turn around and hightailed it out of there because she trusted this feeling of dread. And she's like, I don't know what this is. I can't be in here. So she left. And what happened a few minutes later is that convenience store, and you're probably guessing it in your head, got robbed. So by following that feeling of dread, that energy that she received that felt like dread, she was able to avoid being in a location where somebody was robbing it. And this is the story that I remember. And at the time I was like, but how did she know? So I'm going to answer that for you today. How did she know that store was going to be robbed? So if I break down that scenario for you, what she was feeling, that dread, came from energy. And that energy that she received was probably from the dude that was in the store that was about to rob it. So she could feel probably his nerves, probably the aggression, probably his adrenaline in knowing what task was lying up, what was coming ahead of him, what he was about to do. So she walked in, and she must be a very sensitive person. I would probably say that she's probably an empath because she just picked it up immediately without having to tap in for anything. But she walked in and she could feel that energy coming off, I'm going to say that gentleman, and she knew right away something was wrong. And this is going to be a person that's very good, obviously, at knowing what her emotions are, knowing that it's not a physical feeling. It's not this like, just because I ate McDonald's today, it must be an upset stomach. Like must be somebody who's very in tune with her emotions and how her body is. And that allowed her to be a clear vessel for her to receive that energy, that information from the guy who was robbing the store. So how that information got to her was energy. So we all carry energy every single day. We are energy, right? So our energy tends to be in our aura, and it's kind of everywhere, because you have chakras and all that stuff. I'm not going down the rabbit hole, but I'm going to keep it at the aura level for all of us. So we carry our energy in our auras. If we are having a good day, if we're having a bad day, if we're sad or happy, if we are really excited about something, if we have like a big memory or something coming up, like that energy is kind of stored in our aura. And our aura is an energetic bubble that is all around us. Think of it as like it's like 3 feet out. If you stretch your arms out and draw like an egg shape around you, and it goes below the ground, by the way, that's your energy bubble. That's your aura. And that aura is chock full of energy and information about you. Some people make their auras very solid, so no one can understand or read the energy. I'm one of those people, so if you try to read me, it's generally impossible unless I purposely let you in. I'm not going to go there. Some people are like a Sev, and you can pick up everything. You can pick up everything from them because they are wide open and they let you know everything that's going on, and you know exactly what's happening in their lives because they have a very open aura. So those are the empaths. Empaths, when you break it down, are people that have auras with a lot of holes in them, or it looks like a cheese grater on the outside. So they let everything in without distinction, without judgment. They let everything in and they feel the energy as if it's their own, because once that energy enters your aura, you take on that as your own. And if you're not good at dissecting what's mine and what's others, you're going to feel like you're the one with those feelings. So hopefully that clarifies a couple things. So this woman must be an empath, and this dude that's robbing the store, his aura must be huge, filled with intensity and filled with a lot of energy that she instinctively just picks up, but it must be so strong that she knows it's not hers and she leaves. So that's what I'm talking about with the auras, is that the auras carry a lot of information. So she picked up on his information because she stepped into his aura and she read it. And what mediums do, or what anyone that works in the spiritual field, psychics, mediums, animal communicators, spirit guide people, like Akashic records, that one's different. Sorry, time out, not Akashic records. But what all of those modalities do is essentially take this energy that we all have and learn how to break it apart, learn the language of it, learn what to pick up, how to pick it up, how does your body read the energy, how does your body interpret the energy so that it's as accurate as possible. So these professionals just become versed in the language of energy, very simply put. Because all of that energy, all psychic work is me tapping into your energy, your aura. So just like the corner store, me extending my aura to go into your aura, and I pick things up from it. And that's how I read a psychically, because I'm just setting my aura intention to connect to your aura, to your energy, and I will pick it apart, pull it apart, identify the things that are really loud, identify the things that are maybe hidden that you don't want to know, and just read the energy that way. And it's very similar, I'm going to say, from a mediumship perspective. It's a little different though, because when you connect to your dead loved ones, what you're doing is you're inviting that spirit into your aura. So it's not like you're not reaching to them, they're kind of coming in, and they're coming into your aura. And so when they come into your aura, they send you the information that your body interprets, right? So that's kind of how it works with dead loved ones, is they enter your aura and they send you the information. But your auras need to be connecting. They need to be attached, because if they're not attached, you're not going to get the information, right? Like there needs to be a way to send the energy. Spirit guides, same kind of thing. They send you the information through kind of your aura. I'm going to keep it generic there, because I know there's a lot of, and I'm probably going to get hate mail or disagreements from other professionals, and I'm totally fine with that. But this is how I see it. This is how I interpret it. Everyone else might have a different experience, but you need to be able to receive that energy somehow. And the only way you're going to really receive it is through the energy of your aura. I will say that there is no time or space with your energy. And I feel like I'm on Star Trek right now saying this to all of you, but there is no time and space. So in the spirit world, there is no time. You can be anywhere and everywhere at once. There is no space, right? So the reason that I'm saying this is because even if you are across the world in Australia, I can still read your energy because I set the intention that my aura is going to go into your aura, whether you're here in person or whether you're far away. So when I say that, there doesn't need to be a physical connection. You don't need to be physically in the same space like in the convenience store. You can set the intention that my aura is going to connect to your aura. So I don't know how that works. I'm going to be totally honest with you. But as long as I know that we're overlapping our energy somehow, and somehow my energy is going all the way to Australia and meeting your energy and going into your energy, and that information is getting fed back to me, and I'm sure there's some sort of physics explanation for this, because there have been scientific studies that have been done about, I believe it's like atoms or neutrons or whatever they're called. I had that class a very long time ago. I'm sorry. About how, that one will react to the other, even though they're nowhere near each other. Right. So this is what I'm talking about. Like, you don't need to be in the same place. My energy will go to you to get the information. Likewise with departed loved ones, I can go to wherever they're at, or they can come to me wherever I am. They don't need to physically be here in person with me, if that makes sense. I feel like that last statement was confusing, but my spirit guides are saying roll with it. So I'm going to leave that there. So that's kind of how this energy thing works, is that you kind of need to overlap energies, and then the medium or the professional is just well-versed in picking apart and identifying what needs to be said and how their body picks it up. So I guess that's kind of the last part I want to cover here, because the hardest part about this work is understanding how our body receives and interpret energies. And this is as unique as your fingerprint. Everyone is going to receive and interpret energies in different way. And most of my beginner's mediumship class is actually teaching you how you receive energy, because everyone receives it differently. And there's five clairs, 6 clairs, 5 senses. I keep it to the senses. So I'm not going to do the names, but you have your clear seeing, you have your clear hearing, you have your clear knowing, clear smelling, clear tasting. Yep, that's a thing. And then there's just this, and then clear feeling, which I think I missed. I can't remember. Clear feeling and clear knowing. So that is essentially just ways to describe the senses of your body, right? Seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, feeling, but you receive those through energy. So like when you see things in your head. When you hear things, you hear words in your head, usually in your own voice, right? When you smell things, all right, that feels external. That feels like someone is actually giving you the smell, and tasting is similar. It actually tastes like something. And then feeling is just like understanding how feelings show up in or on your body. So a lot of what the spiritual communication is understanding how your body is more likely to receive the energy. And it's so subtle. It is so subtle in being able to pick up how energy is dropped into your energy and how you can interpret it. So let me give you some examples here. The smelling is really easy. I think a lot of people have the smelling clair from our departed loved ones. So if you're ever in a room and you just smell roses, or you just smell perfume, or you just smell a cigar or cigarette out of nowhere, and there's nothing around you that should be giving you that smell, and it's there and then it's gone like a second or two later, that is a smell from spirit. That is your loved ones on the other side, or your guides or your angels sending you a little hello, how you doing? I'm here watching over you. So that's how like the smelling shows up. I'm going to skip over taste because that one's weird. But then feeling is like goosebumps. Like, do you just get goosebumps randomly for no reason? And have we all heard Teresa Caputo? I hope we all have at this point. But like when she says, did you just get those goosebumps? Sorry, I should have a better Long Island medium. But did you just get those goosebumps? That was the soul moving right through you, right? Like that's what I'm talking about. God, I'm sorry. I'm from Boston. I can't do the New York accent. Please ignore that. But that goosebumps, that feeling, the chills, that can be spirit too, right? When I'm talking about hearing things in your head, you might, for example, have an earworm of a song that's just plays over and over and over in your head, and it might come up really subtly out of nowhere. You haven't heard that music lately. That's an example of how spirit will use the clear hearing in your head to give a message. So that something about that song might be really important to you. It may have a message for you, or it might have a message for the sitter that you might be sitting with. And then clear seeing is this flash, this picture in your head that comes out of nowhere, and it can look like a movie, it can look like a photograph, it could be like a zoomed in thing, a zoomed out thing. But what is cool about that is that's actually the way that I first started mediumship, like either right before or right after. It was right at the beginning. It was my husband's birthday, and his grandmother had recently passed, and like clockwork, this woman like clockwork would deliver make sure cards were delivered on your birthday. I don't know how she did it. It was magical, but it was always a red envelope. Like it was, we could predict it every year, and she sent cards for everything, right? So on my husband's birthday, the year that she died, we have like a pull up place to go get our mail, but we pulled up, and as my husband reached for the mail, in my mind, sorry about the tears, it always happens, in my mind I could see her sending me the picture of, here's the card for his birthday. Even though it wasn't in the mailbox, it was in my head, right? But I knew in that moment it was from her, and I had to say, like, happy birthday to him from her. Do you enjoy it when I cry? So that's the love coming through that I'm crying about, as always, which is why I have tissues next to me. But like, that's what spirit will show you, is they'll send you these pictures, and then obviously for me, they're full of emotion too. So I definitely know when I see something and I start talking about it and I start crying, like that's definitely from spirit, because they're sending a feeling of love with it too. So I guess that gets us to the feeling one that I was going to avoid, is that feeling of, crying, of sadness, of happiness, of joy, that kind of comes out of nowhere, or that brief memory of your departed loved one that pops up, or that name in your head. So that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about understanding the clairs and kind of how you're receiving them, because everyone receives the same thing differently. It could be like a teacher, but it shows up as, an apple as a picture in your head. Maybe you hear a song about teaching. Maybe you, smell old dusty chalk, right? Maybe you feel like you're standing in front of a classroom. So you have to understand how your energy receives and interprets the messages and energy from spirit. And that is why a lot of mediums will fail, because they don't practice, and they don't understand how it all works, and they don't understand the importance of learning the language of spirit, which is energy. So I hope that helps. I hope this was an interesting episode for all of you. I could have, again, taken this in a bunch of different directions, especially like different things are at different vibrational levels. You have to set the intention for certain levels. But I hope this kind of helps you understand how the mechanics of how spirit communicates, how energy works. And especially for those of you empaths, why you pick up on the energy and emotions of others. So there's tools you can use, but I'm not going to go there today. But I hope this was educational for all of you. Thank you so much for being here and letting me talk about how this all this spiritual mumbo jumbo works, as how my dad would say. All right, sending you all the love. I hope you have a wonderful day. Mwah. Take care.